Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. In my last video, I said that I was going to have a walk around the Escort, show you sort of what I'm doing, what I'm up against. So let's have a look. So, welcome to AVO Rugeley. So, if you know anything about myself or what AVO stands for, which is Advanced Vehicle Operations, then you know that there's only one manufacturer that we're looking at. Okay, so let's have a look, see what we got. Okay, let's get some light on. Okay, so this is my Mark 1 Escort 1972 on an L plate. Originally started out as a 1100L. Now, when I looked at the VIN plate on the car, it's suggesting two optional extras on this car, which is reversing lights and a temperature gauge. So as you can appreciate, this was base model. Yeah, not an awful lot going on. Certainly not exciting. I think the most exciting thing is that the car, I believe, had drum brakes on the front as well. So yeah, when it came to stopping, that must have been quite fun. So yeah, that's what we got. So looking at the condition of the car, starting at the front. What I will say with this car, overall, this car has had some bad repairs over its time. It's had the typical 1970s, 1980s repairs. Now I can remember the 1980s, and these were not cherished cars. They were your daily runabouts. They weren't the money that you're sort of looking at for them now, even for a shell. We went through Escorts for fun as a family. If one was not to MOT standard and there was too much rust or whatever, for whatever reason, it would be scrapped and we'd get another one. A couple of £100 got you quite a decent car back in the day. And even my dad's Mark 1, I can remember the rear arches being done, and yeah, it wasn't a great job, but it worked. I think the repair panels were riveted on, and then a lot of filler, and then the car was sprayed, the arches were sprayed, and that was it. Away you went. And it was those kind of repairs, nothing like the cherished, like, you know, these are cherished cars now, and we take time to sort of look after them and make sure that everything's okay. It was just the case of get the car repaired, get back on the road. If it was too far gone, the car went as well, and you got another one. So, some of the repairs on this car, if we start with the bulkhead, this bulkhead has had some serious work done to it, metal work, and also when I've been scraping, when we've been taking it back to taking the paint off, you can see that it's full of filler as well. So yeah, it's had plenty of welding, not particularly great. You can see that it's the bulkhead has been cut out to accommodate, and I think that was to accommodate the Pinto EFI that was in the car. If I move around to sort of the front, you can see that there's on this heater bowl, and you can see where I've taken the paint back to metal. You can see that there's been a big patch being put in here. So, you know, it's these kind of repairs that you're sort of looking at. Again, rot has still come through here and there, so that needs replacing. The inner wings, Inner wings, the tops of the inner wings have been replaced. I've measured these inner wings as well, and they're nowhere near, well, they are about 11 mm out from sort of Ford, the Ford spec. So yeah, it's had a lot of work over its time. You can see where the top plates have taken place. On this side, you've got an area which has been channeled out. So this was for the Pinto EFI airflow meter and the cone K&N filter that came on top of it. The inner front panel has been removed. That looks like that's been removed many moons ago. Just look at this slam panel. Okay, so that's the original slam panel, that is, and you can see where it's rotted, where it rotted away, just there. And instead of removing the slam panel and doing a proper job, what do you think they've done? Just welded a thin rod all the way across to sort of keep it in place. Okay, look at these. Look at these anti-roll bars. Sorry, this anti-roll bar and the brackets. Okay, those brackets should be bolted on. Okay, they're welded on, and there's welding all over the place. You can see there's a patch down there. This chassis leg isn't too bad, but needs to go. That one's had a lot of work to it. I've measured them all up. They are to the millimetre correct, as per the Ford specification. So they're definitely in the right place. The one saving grace is that the car hasn't been in an accident. You can see that. And yeah, you know, we're working with the original inner wings, but you're looking at a complete new front end. So we're looking at a new upper bulkhead, lower bulkhead, chassis rails, inner wings, inner front panel, outer front panel, the slam panel comes as part of the inner slam panel, and then you've got two Mexico wings. Okay, so that's for starters. Okay, so that's sort of the front end. I mean, if you look at the gearbox tunnel, you can see all the patch stuff that's been going on there. Okay, so it all needs replacing. An awful lot of work. It's just like I say, it's just had a lot of panel work, a lot of patch work, and it all needs to go. So moving into the car itself, into the Escort. Same story again, really. So if we look at that lower panel from in here, you can see all the patchwork. There's rust, patchwork everywhere. Large gearbox tunnel, homemade. Absolutely shocking. You can see that there's rust over there where I've taken, and you can see now it's more apparent when I've taken the dashboard panel out. Okay. Floors. These are the original floors, but been patched. Same over here. And moving into the back of the car, same thing again. The rear, this part is probably the best part of the car, actually, because that seat brace at the back is fine. This brace down here, we're going to take out as well, because that can be saved. That saves about £150. But it's going to be a complete new floor. Again, I've got that. And the tubs are going to be replaced as well. But that'll be more apparent when you look from the boot area. looking at the rear quarters of the car, at this moment in time, without me taking the paint off, they're staying. However, should there be any major issues and paint and filler can cover up a whole load of problems, then they'll be gone as well. I think I've mentioned I've got 2 brand new doors to fit as well. So when we look at the car, it doesn't look like there's going to be too much left other than the roof and that boot floor as it stands. Okay, let me go around to the other side. Okay, apologies for it's a complete mess in here. And there's parts, engines, wiring harnesses, the whole lot. We've got everything in here. But some of the parts are actually good and actually nice. Moving on to the boot. You can see from the tubs and the wells. So you've got, this is the tank well, and you've got the spare wheel well. They're really bad. Suffered a lot of corrosion in there, and all this needs to be replaced. And these tubs as well. So I've got all the panels. All the panels have been bought. The rear panel isn't too bad. It's actually pretty good, actually, to be fair. But again, I don't want any patchwork on this car. It needs to be straight. It's certainly going to have to go on a jig when we start taking parts off it and making sure that everything's correct and as it it goes back as it should. So this is what you've got now. One bit of advice. Sorry, another good thing about the car is actually the boot lid. That is actually really good, and this bonnet is absolutely mint. It's another purchase from Escort Tech about 7 years ago, and yeah, it's a really good buy, to be fair. So, and it's very, very straight. So, what I'm going to say to you is I'm going to give you one bit of advice, okay? And it's a bit of a catch-22. Don't do what I done and buy a car based on, how can I put this? Based on my heart, because it's a 2-door red Mark 1 that I bought. It started, it drove. The worst thing about it is I knew what I was looking for, and it just went completely out the window, and I just bought the car because it reminded me of my dad's car and my childhood. Okay. The Mark 1 Escort is my favourite car of all time. You can keep your Porsches, your Lamborghinis, whatever, not interested. This was my car. It always has been and always will be. A, because my dad had one, and 2, it brings back so much good memories of when I was a child. So yeah, don't do what I done and buy a car and not look into the car properly. Use your head, buy the best car that you can with your budget. And I understand that times are difficult at this moment in time in terms of money. Money is, with bills going up and stuff like that, cost of living. I understand it. We're all feeling the pinch. But what I will say to you is when you start looking at restoration, if you're going to do it yourself, great. And, you can afford to pay less, get a car in a worse condition, and you can do the stuff properly yourself. That's great if you know how to do it, or you're willing, like myself, to learn things, and I'm learning every single day. But when you start talking restoration costs, and anybody decent doing restoration is going to want to charge somewhere in the region of £50 to £60, and I'm probably underestimating that as well. And you may think that's expensive. Well, when you start looking at gas and electricity, their overheads, their materials, Their knowledge, that's what you're paying for. You're paying for their knowledge. If someone's doing it properly, they've they know what to do. They're an expert. They've worked on these cars for years. When you start looking at those type of prices and someone's done, I don't know, 10 hours work for you at £50 an hour, it's 500 quid, you know, and you're probably not getting an awful lot for your 10 hours, to be fair. So bear that in mind. Um, so there's two ways of going about sort of getting into, an Escort, whether it's a Mark 1, Mark 2, in fact, any car for that matter, just try and buy the best car you can. And I know that's difficult because of the climate that we're in at this moment in time, but don't do what I done, because I just was like, sod it, it's a red Mark 1, I'm buying it, and it kind of fulfilled an ambition of mine to sort of have one. And yeah, this is what I came back with. So yeah, don't do what I do. Don't do what I done. Do as I say. So yeah, this is what we're working with anyway. It's done now. It was 7 years ago. I've got to put the car back on the road. So yeah, this is what we have. Um, so the next video should be me attempting to weld. Okay, and it's something that I've put off for years. It's got to happen. It's got to be a skill that I've got to learn and perfect and put into practice, because there's no way we can get this car back on the road without doing it. Without doing that, so I've had my welding helmet delivered today, so we'll open that up. My Artec welder was delivered some 10 months ago. Um, we've got welding gloves, we've got wire, got gas, so there is absolutely no excuse anymore. We're gonna have to get involved and learn something new. But and if you're at home and you're thinking, I can't weld, I can't do this, I can't do that, think about it this way. The people who are skilled at welding and repairing cars, how do you think they started? Just ask yourself that question. How did they start? And at some point, they just dived in and just thought, you know what, I've got to give it a go. Or they went to night school and probably done a welding class or something, right? But if other people have done it, why not you? And that's the way that's my mindset anyway. If somebody else can do it, then it's well within my reach to do it as well. And we're not going to be looking at concourse show condition, but what we are looking at is a car that's improved and certainly better than the condition that we found it in, and it's safe and it's solid, with no rust. That's what we're looking for. So yeah, that's my take on it. That's sort of the walkthrough of the car, and my advice, if you are looking at any sort of classic car, just try and buy the best you can. Don't go with your heart, go with your head. If the car's not right, walk away. There'll be others. It doesn't seem like that at the time, but I can assure you, I see good cars all the time, and quite reasonable as well. You just got to look and have a bit of patience. So that's me for today, and as I say, the next one will be me attempting to weld, so you guys can have a good laugh at my expense. So yeah, happy days. Thank you ever so much for watching, and tune in, and I'll be back on soon. Thank you.